بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وأفضل الصلاة وأزكى التسليم على المبعوث رحمة للعالمين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Welcome to the Fiqh class. Today inshallah we will start the book of fasting. We are in a new chapter now. After zakah we have fasting. And in the book of fasting we have basically two major chapters. That's how Ibn Rushd divided the book of fasting. One of them, he made it the fasting which is obligatory, and the other one, the fasting which is recommended. These are the two chapters that we will study. The first book, which is the obligatory fasting, he mentioned the kinds of obligatory fasting. What are they? The pillars of obligatory fasting. What are the pillars of fasting? And when we say pillars, arkan al-siyam, which means if any one of them is missing, what will happen? Your fasting is not valid. And then we have a chapter about breaking the fast. What are the things that will break your fast? And what will happen? What are the consequences? If you break your fast, what will happen? So these are the things that we will study in the book of fasting, inshallah. And maybe it will take us 3 more sessions only, and we will be done with the book of fasting. First, kinds of obligatory fasting. Now, when I say obligatory fasting, what comes to mind? Ramadan. But is it the only fasting that is obligatory? Do you have to fast any other fasting? In case of another thing, we have Siyam al-Kaffarat, and we have Siyam al-Nudhur, vow, when you vow. So, to make it easier, always remember the numbers. How many kinds of obligatory fasting? 3. We have 3. You have to remember this. Obligatory during a fixed time. This is how it is divided. The mental division is really important when you have it in mind. You have fasting that is obligatory due to the time. And then you have obligatory fasting due to a reason. Due to a reason. Because of something happened, Siyam became mandatory. And then we have obligatory due to the person himself. He made it obligatory upon himself, which is Siyamun Nadhr, when you vow to fast. So how many obligatory fasting do we have? 3. So what are the pillars of fasting? Now we know this is obligatory. This is the month of Ramadan. What are the pillars? Again, we have 3. We have 3 pillars. So remember, 3 types of obligatory fasting, and we have 3 pillars. What are these pillars? One pillar is the duration. Az-zaman. The second pillar is imsak, what we call it abstinence. And the third pillar is intention. Intention. So we have zaman, imsak, and we have intention, niyyah. Niyyah. The duration, what is the period of obligation? What is it? 1 month. Month of Ramadan, be it 29 days or be it 30 days. For how long in this month? Because some people, they think that we fast the entire month. 24/7, 30 days, which is impossible. Some people think that. We fast from a specific time to a specific time every day. Then the abstinence. What kind of things will break the fast that we have to abstain from? during the fast. And then the ahkam of the niyyah. These are the three pillars. We have the zaman, waqt, we have the imsak, abstinence, and we have the intention. So now we know there are three pillars. Actually, before we move on, we have to read from the book, because there are important points that I want to focus on while we read the book. So every one of you, please open the book, page 330, book 1.
We begin the first book in this main book, part 1, fasting, Sawm. We begin with the first chapter that covers the identification of the kinds of fasting. Chapter 1, the kinds of obligatory fast. We say, fasting prescribed...
Okay, now first of all, I want to compare between two types of student. We have two students. One student who is a student of knowledge, and the other one is a regular reader. Once you read, we begin with the first chapter that covers the identification of the kinds of fasting. The student of knowledge will try to analyze this. Unlike the reader, okay, kinds of fasting. Kinds of fasting, what does it mean? What kinds of fasting? He's talking about what? Obligatory, right? Other than obligatory. Recommended. Good. Move on.
Chapter 1, the kinds of obligatory fast. We say fasting prescribed by law is obligatory and recommended.
One second. Is the fasting only obligatory and recommended? Another thing that the student of knowledge will raise a flag here. He will say, no, there is another thing. But he is listening to you here what he will speak about. That does not mean this is everything. Now if I ask you, what are the kinds of fasting? Yes, it is obligatory and recommended. What else? Can fasting be makruh?
Yes.
Yes, it can. When?
Some people said Saturday. Fasting on Friday by itself.
Fasting Friday by itself. Fasting Saturday by itself. 8 days, is it makruh? It is haram. So we have haram also. So we have now recommended. We have makruh. We have obligatory and we have what? Haram. So again, that's the difference between someone who reads and making notes and trying to analyze what he's reading, and another one who's just reading, mere reading without even thinking of what he is reading. Now, before even we proceed, one question. The chapter that we're talking about here is fasting. What's the definition of fasting?
Abstain from food, drink, and sexual intercourse during the specific period of time.
Abstaining from?
Certain things. It means to abstain, drink, and sexual intercourse.
So if you abstain from food, drink, and sexual intercourse, but you eat dust.
To abstain from certain things at a certain time.
Okay? To abstain from certain things at certain time.
For the sake of
For the sake of Allah. Fi sabilillah. I will abstain from speaking to you fi sabilillah for 1 hour.
Isn't that a kind of fasting?
Yeah, but is this the fast that... Again, always when you have a definition for something, no other match for this thing. Otherwise, it is not a correct definition. Fasting literally, what does it mean? Abstinence. To abstain from. That's literally. So when I say I will not speak to you, that is fasting. But the religious fasting.
Abstinence from the things that Allah has forbidden.
Allah forbade food and drink.
At a fixed period of time.
Okay, think about it. You see, this is very simple thing. Someone will come to you and will tell you, you are studying the fiqh of siyam, and mashallah, you've studied lots of chapters, lots of issues. What's the definition of fasting? And you will say, first things first. Remember, this is the second time. It is not the first time that we take fasting. And we took the definition of it. Okay, move on. This is your job. I will not tell you.
The first is obligatory during a fixed time, and this is fasting during the month of Ramadan itself. The second is prescribed due to a reason, and this is fasting for expiation, kafara. The third is fasting that a person imposes on himself. This is fasting after a vow, another. The discussion in this book about the kinds of obligatory fasting is related to fasting during the month of Ramadan alone. Fasting for expiation will be discussed on those occasions where expiation is an obligatory consequence.
See, he will not discuss the fasting for expiation here. Why? Because there is a separate chapter for kafarat. Ahkam al-kafarat, the rulings of kafarat, and there fasting of kafarat will be discussed. Because simply when you take one chapter of fasting, it is the same for all other chapters. The only difference is the conditions for that fasting and this fasting.
Similarly, fasting due to a vow will be discussed in the Book of Vows. Fasting during the month of Ramadan is obligatory on the basis of the Quran, the Sunnah, and the consensus. In the Quran, the basis...
Yeah, another thing. Someone will come and tell you, do I have to fast? Why? Why? Where is the evidence that I have to fast? Someone came to you to the masjid. Exactly. يا أيها الذين آمنوا كتب عليكم الصيام كما كتب على الذين من قبلكم لعلكم. Again, remember this always, because sometimes it is not enough to say, oh, everybody do it. If everybody is doing it, that does not make it obligatory or recommended. Just the question when I asked about Zakat al-Fitr, is it obligatory? And you said, oh, yeah. Why? Is it just because everyone is doing it? You have an evidence. You should have an evidence for it. If you say it is obligatory or it is recommended. Okay.
In the Quran, the basis are the words of the Exalted, O ye who believe, fasting is prescribed for you, even as it was prescribed for those before you, that ye may ward off evil. In the Sunnah, it is the saying of the Prophet ﷺ, Islam is structured on 5 things, and he mentioned fasting.
بني الإسلام على خمس. One of them is what? Fasting. So again, this is the beauty about the books of fiqh. They start especially here. See how he listed to you what you will study, and started one step at a time, the evidences for obligation of this thing, and then the issues that are coming. And even here in this chapter in particular, he discussed to you, he told you what he will not discuss. Even what he will not discuss. So there is a lot for this chapter. It is not everything here. That's what he's telling you.
And also his words to the Bedouin and the fast of the month of Ramadan. He asked, am I obliged for something else besides all this? He replied, no, unless it is voluntary. Consensus is found as there is no disagreement that has been attributed to any of the Imams over this. The person on whom it is obligatory without a choice is the believer who is a major and a sane person.
Again, who has to fast? Adult, sane, Muslim.
Healthy, resident.
Healthy, resident. Good. One more thing. One more thing. Menstruating woman has to fast. So how you put it in words? Free of what? That's what you do. So you have Muslim, adult, sane, resident. Why we say this? Because if you're not a Muslim, even if you fast, it won't be accepted from you. If you're not adult, again, you don't have to fast. People ask, what about my 10 years old child? He or she does not have to fast. If you encourage them, that is better, but they don't have to. On the other hand, we have some people, they force their children. They don't have to. Why you do it for them? Wait. Educate them, let them learn step by step, and then they will be able to fast. The resident, because if you are traveling, and we will discuss this issue thoroughly inshallah, you don't have to fast. Healthy, because if you're sick, you don't have to fast. That's what Allah says in the Quran. فَمَنْ كَانَ مِنْكُمْ مَرِيضًا أَوْ عَلَى سَفَرٍ. Then we have the other thing, which is, if a woman is menstruating, does she fast? No.
What does it mean, free of a relieving factor?
That's it. The relieving factor.
Oh, menstruation, okay. Who is not on a journey, is in sound health, and is free of a relieving factor, which is menstruation for women. There is no dispute over this because of the words of the Exalted, and whosoever of you is present living through the month, let him fast the month.
Okay, all these conditions are taken from only one ayah. Alright, next, move on.
Chapter 2, the integral elements, arkan of fast. There are 3 elements. 2 of them are agreed upon, and these are...
This is important also to know that there are 3. 2 of them are agreed upon. And 1 is disputed. There is difference of opinions amongst scholars.
2 of them are agreed upon, and these are duration and abstinence from acts breaking the fast. While the 3rd is disputed, which is formulation of the intention. The first element, duration. The first element, which is duration, is divided into 2 kinds. The first is the period of obligation, which is the month of Ramadan, while the other is a period of abstinence from acts that break the fast, and this covers daytime of the days of this month, thus excluding the nights. To each of these periods are related fundamental issues over which they disagreed. We begin with those that relate to the period of the obligation. The first of these is the determination of the 2 ends of this period. The second relates to the identification of the method by which a knowledge of the limiting signs is attained with respect to each individual and to the various horizons.
Do you understand what he's saying? He's telling you, first we have obligatory fasting. This obligatory fasting has a specific time, has a period. What is that period? We already said it is the month of Ramadan. When is the month of Ramadan? What if someone wanted to fast Ramadan every year with the Christmas? Starting the middle of December till the mid of January. Is that permissible? There is a specific time. What is that time? It is the month of Ramadan. If it is the month of Ramadan, how do we know? The beginning and the end. The 2 ends. The beginning and the end. This is one thing. Now, if we say we knew the month of Ramadan, this is what is obligatory. You fast the month of Ramadan. This is Ramadan. We know now this is Ramadan. Now, for how long we fast? Every day. So you have also beginning of the time and end of the time. For everyone there are issues that are related. What if someone in a prison, isolated from the world outside, he doesn't even know what time it is. He doesn't see the light. He doesn't see anything. And he is there for 6 months. They throw the food to him and they take the remaining, and he is there in that cell. What does he do? He cannot keep track of time. So the month of Ramadan came. What if you fast before? See, there are many issues related to this. So he is telling you that's what we are going to cover. Okay.
We begin with those that relate to the period of the obligation. The first of these is the determination of the 2 ends of this period. The second relates to the identification of the method by which a knowledge of the limiting signs is attained with respect to each individual and to the various horizons.
Okay, how fasting become mandatory upon you? What kind of methods that are used to make this fasting obligatory? Okay.
With respect to the 2 ends of the period of obligatory fasting,
The beginning of the month and the end of the month.
the jurists agreed that the Arabic month spans over 29 days, that are sometimes 30.
Okay, so we know this is, see how simple he's breaking it down. We have 29 or 30 days.
That are sometimes 30. And that the criterion for the determination of the month of Ramadan is the sighting of the new moon. Because of this.
Okay, now this is one thing. Sighting of the moon is the method of the determination of the month of Ramadan.
Because of the saying of the Prophet ﷺ, fast with its, meaning the moon's sighting, and break it with its sighting.
So how do we fast? Based on what? Sighting of the moon. Is it based on calculation? No or yes? We will see. Okay. We will see.
By sighting here is meant for the first appearance of the new moon after the declining of the sun. They disagreed about the hukam when there are factors that conceal sighting and make it impossible.
So if you say it is sighting the moon, you did not see the moon, how do you fast? You did not see the moon, how do you fast? So is it by calculation or by sighting? Is it by calculation or by sighting? Sighting, again, is it sighting by your eyesight or sighting by the knowledge of the beginning of the month? Now, all of you here, did you see the moon? Did you see the moon? How did you fast?
Someone saw the moon.
The moon was seen? Actually, the moon was not seen. So that makes the methods of fasting or breaking the fast two. We call it khabar, report, news. Someone reported to you that the moon is sighted. Or hiss, with your senses, means seeing the moon. So now, everything before they agreed upon. Why? Because he said they disagreed about the hukum when there are factors that conceal sighting and make it impossible. What do we do in this case? First of all, know that there is disagreement. You have to know that there is disagreement. So if you take one opinion, there are people already took that opinion, adopted it. If you take another opinion, also there is people who took or adopted that opinion. Move on.
They also disputed the proper time for sighting the moon. As to their disagreement when the moon is concealed in clouds, As to their disagreement when the moon is concealed in clouds, the majority maintain that the hukam in such a case is to complete the period of the preceding month, Sha'ban, 30 days.
Okay, now, today is the 29th of Sha'ban. So, it is 6 o'clock p.m., the sun is almost setting, but there are clouds. We want to go to sight the moon to see if tomorrow will be the 1st of Ramadan or it will be the 30th of Sha'ban. How can we know? By sighting the moon. If we saw the moon, what will happen? We fast tomorrow. What if we went out but there were clouds? What do we do? You complete Sha'ban. What if the moon was there but the clouds covered it? You didn't see it. But in reality it is the first day and you did not see it. So what do you do?
In reality, we did not see it.
In reality you did not see it. Okay. So you continue Sha'ban 30 days. Says who?
I just said
I don't have to follow you.
Majority.
Isn't this all agreed upon?
No, this is not agreed upon. He just said that. Before that, it's agreed upon. From here, there is disagreement. Who said that you continue Sha'ban 30 days? The majority. This is the opinion of the majority. Why it is the opinion of the majority? What's the evidence? Now we will know. So this is important. Again, every year we have this favorite issue of the moon. Now you will take all the details about it and now you can join the club.
If the moon If the moon is concealed at the probable beginning of the month before it is to be counted as having 30 days. Thus, the first day of the Ramadan would be the next day. If the moon is concealed at the end of the month of Ramadan...
Now what about the same thing? Now it is the 29th of Ramadan. We went out, we are so happy, want to see if tomorrow is the Eid, but again there were clouds. What do? Same thing, according to the majority, you fast. Okay, go on.
If the moon is concealed at the end of the month of Ramadan, the people will fast for 30 days. Ibn Umar held a different opinion.
Okay, so now he is the first one to disagree. Ibn Umar radiallahu anhuma.
That is, if the concealed moon is that of the beginning of the month of Ramadan, the next day, which is called the day of doubt, is to be observed as a fast.
Okay, fasting the day of doubt. This is an issue that is known in the books of fiqh. Fasting the day of doubt. What day is it, the day of doubt? The 30th of Sha'ban, wrong. If you say only that. It is the 30th of Sha'ban if there were clouds. Because if there were no clouds, there is no doubt. We know it is the 30th of Sha'ban. So it is the 30th of Sha'ban if there were clouds, or it is the day after the 29th of Sha'ban if we don't know. That's why it is doubt. What do? Do you fast or you don't fast? The Prophet ﷺ told the companions not to fast. And Anas radiallahu anh said, "Man sawma al-yawm," whoever fasts the day of doubt, he disobeyed Abu al-Qasim sallallahu alayhi wasallam. But that's not the opinion of everyone. As you see, there is difference. Okay.
It is related from some of the predecessors or early jurists that if the moon is concealed, recourse is to be had to astronomical calculation. And this is the opinion of Mutarrif ibn al-Sheikh.
Mutarrif ibn Abdullah al-Sheikh.
One of the leading tabi'un.
Okay, so even the opinion of calculations is old as the time of the tabi'in. From that time, you resort to what? Calculations. Although at their time, what do you think they had of devices? Very, very simple and good. How? What kind of technology they had at that time?
Calculations are almost as good as ours.
No, there is difference, but it was good. Yeah. So you resort to what? He said, you follow the calculations. Okay.
In a narration by Ibn Surayj from Al-Shafi'i, he said that if a person is proficient in astronomy and according to his calculation the new moon could be sighted, had it not been for the obstruction, should commence fasting and his fast would be valid.
You see? So even this opinion has some supporters. Even it has a narration from Imam Shafi'i rahimahullah that you resort to calculations.
You don't see the moon, you resort to calculations.
Yeah, because again, they tell you the moon should be sighted. Had it not been for these clouds. Move on.
The reason for their disagreement arises from the lack of detail, ijmal, in the saying of the Prophet ﷺ, fast on sighting it and break the fast on sighting it.
This is clear. Now when you see the moon, you fast. No one disagreed about that. When you see the moon, you break the fast. There is no one disagreed about that. But what if it's concealed? The Prophet ﷺ said what? فَقْدُرُوا لَهُ. What does it mean? أُقْدُرُوا لَهُ. This is ijmal. It is not detailed. أُقْدُرُوا لَهُ, it could mean several meanings. أُقْدُرُوا لَهُ means estimate. What's the best way to estimate? Make calculations, especially if you have accurate calculations. Others say no, because this hadith is mujmal. أُقْدُرُوا means several things. How we understand it? We take the other hadith. The other hadith came detailed, and we don't have any disagreement between detailed hadith and mujmal, mufassar and mujmal. The mufassar always takes precedence. In the mufassar, the Prophet ﷺ said, فَإِنْ غُمَّ عَلَيْكُمْ, if it's concealed, أَكْمِلُوا شَعْبَانَ 30. Continue Sha'ban 30 days. So there is no chance for any doubt now. We know exactly what we should do. And that's why it is the opinion of the majority. They say this is what you should do. You don't take only this narration while you ignore the other narration which is detailed. And that's what he tries to say now.
If it is concealed, make an assessment about it. The majority maintain that this means complete the period of 30 days. One group of jurists said that the meaning of taqdir here is to fix its time by reckoning. Some of them even said that the believer should wake up fasting, which is the opinion of Ibn Umar, as we have mentioned. This, however, is a remote interpretation. The majority decided upon their interpretation due to the authentic tradition of Ibn Abbas that the Prophet ﷺ said, if it is concealed from you, then complete the count of 30 days.
Okay, so it is clear now. There is no need for any further explanation. The Prophet ﷺ himself said, continue Shaban 30 days.
The former tradition lacks detail. They said, and this is its explanation. Thus, it is necessary to construe the unelaborated through its explanation. This is a method over which there is no dispute among the experts of usul.
As we already studied it, I hope you still remember that from the levels of speech. We have nas, we have mufassar, we have mujmal. We took that.
And there is in fact no conflict at all between the mujmal and the mufassar. The opinion of the majority on this point is more convincing.
Of course, there is. It's very strong. So this is now the first issue, when you don't see the moon. And as you see, there is almost no disagreement now. All four imams, most scholars, they agree on it. The current issue that we have is different than this. It is when we have someone who says he saw the moon, and by calculation, we say it is impossible. This is mainly the main issue that we have nowadays. What do we do with this? Next issue. Go ahead.
In their disagreement about the legitimate time of sighting, they first agreed that if it is sighted in the evening, the month begins on the next day, starting after sunset.
This is another issue which is very important. Let's say we went out to sight the moon, and the moon was sighted in the evening. Then when is the day of Ramadan or the day of Eid? It is the next day. What if we went out, we did not see anything? Next day, in the morning, we saw the moon. Let's say you saw the moon at 11 a.m. What do you do? Now, they say it's almost impossible, because the moon is so small, you cannot see it before sunset. But just if it happened, and this is an issue scholars mentioned, what do you do? Some of them said that means this moon is for the previous night. Otherwise, you won't be able to see it in the morning unless it is big enough. And if it is big enough, it is not for this day, it is for the previous day, which means you have to break your fast, or you have to fast. It is for this day, if it's the first day of Ramadan. Others say it depends. If you see it after midday, it is for the next day. So it is as if you saw it from the night. If you see it before that, then it is for the current day. So if you went out on the 29th of Ramadan and you did not see the moon, you came back in the morning, you saw the moon, you break your fast and you consider it the day of Eid. There are two opinions. Read them.
They disagreed when it was sighted during the daytime on the last day of Shaban, that is, the first time of its sighting. The opinion of the majority is that if the first sighting of the moon is during the day, it is the noon of the next day, just like sighting in the evening. It's just like its sighting in the evening. This opinion was held by Malik, Al-Shafi'i, Abu Hanifa, and the majority of their disciples. Abu Yusuf, the disciple of Abu Hanifa, Al-Thawri, and Ibn Habib, one of the disciples of Malik, held that if the moon is sighted before the declining of the sun, it belongs to the previous night. But if it is sighted after the declining of the sun, it belongs to the coming night.
See, it is the opinion of minority, very, very few scholars. While the vast majority of scholars, what did they say? It doesn't matter. Whenever you see the moon, It is for the next day.
These minorities break the fast.
According to them, yeah. Now, why they differed? Actually, even their differences is based on their understanding of narrations from Umar radiallahu anhu, not from the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
So.
And they are listed here. Okay, you continue this, move to the next paragraph, the last one in the page, the same page. Another issue.
As far as their disagreement about the legitimate knowledge of sighting is concerned, there are two methods for it.
Yeah, now how you sight the moon? As we said, there are two methods. What are they? Khabar and Hiss. Whether you see it with your own eyes or
Senses.
you hear from someone, report. Okay.
One of these is based upon the senses, perception, and the other upon reports. The jurists agreed that a person who alone sights the moon is under an obligation to fast, except for Ata ibn Abi Rabah, who said that he is not to fast unless another person besides him has sighted it too.
See, this is an issue. It could happen. Now, you saw the moon, but no one else saw it. What do? You are obliged to fast because you saw the moon. But the majority, what about them? People, when you tell them, they tell you we need another witness. So for the community, they don't fast because your testimony only is not enough. But for you yourself, you have to fast. That's the opinion of all scholars.
They disagreed about whether he can stop fasting on the basis of his own sighting.
Now, the opposite. It is the last day of Ramadan, 29th, and you saw the moon. So, tomorrow is what? It should be the Eid. You went out and no one told you, I saw the moon. It is only you. What do? You fast or you stop the fast? For you, you don't fast. Why? You saw the moon. But that's not the opinion of everyone. Here, there is disagreement, unlike the previous issue. Imam Shafi rahimahullah said, you don't fast. Other scholars said, you fast. And some of them actually said, if you break the fast, you are liable to making up and kafara. Imam Shafi rahimahullah said, you break the fast, but if you fear, you don't let others know that you broke the fast. It is a difficult situation when you are the only one who saw the moon. How is it possible? This is also another issue. Could it be possible? Yes, some people sometimes they are given special skills or with their equipment, or there are some people they know. They either by nature or they studied, so they know the moon should be sighted from there. And they see it. And again, for the first day, the moon does not last for a lot of time. 5-6 minutes maximum. Okay, go on.
Malik, Abu Hanifa, and Ahmed held that he is not to cease fasting.
So this is the opinion of the majority now. The opinion of the majority, you keep fasting.
Al-Shafi'i said that he is to stop fasting, and this was also the opinion of Abu Thar. This dispute has no meaning, as the Prophet ﷺ made fasting and breaking the fast dependent upon sighting, and sighting is by perception. Had there been no consensus about fasting on the basis of a report of sighting, because of the apparent meaning of this tradition, the imposition of an obligation of fasting on the basis of reports would be far-fetched. Those who made a distinction between the moon of fasting and that of terminating the fast did so for the prevention of improper claims that may be made falsely by the devious, who may cease fasting illegitimately.
See, because it will open the door for the wicked people, for the liars, the ones who want to play with the religion, to come and say, I saw the moon. He is lying. How do you know he is lying or he is telling the truth?
Claiming they have seen the moon when in actual fact they have not. Al-Shafi'i therefore said that if he fears accusations, he should abstain from eating and drinking and consider himself as having ceased fasting. Malik deviated from this and said that the person who sights the moon alone and breaks his fast is liable to qada as well as expiation. Abu Hanifa said that he is only liable for qada. They disagree regarding certain questions.
Okay, now this is if you saw the moon. If you saw the moon by yourself. What if you did not see the moon? How do you fast? How do you fast if you did not see the moon?
You call your
Reports of what?
somebody who saw it.
People. We had someone came and said, I saw the moon. It is the 29th of Sha'ban. He said, I saw the moon. Yeah, he's Imam. He's an Imam, he's Hafiz Quran, he's a scholar. You don't doubt his trustworthiness. And also he has some knowledge. So of the astronomy, he saw the moon. He came and said, I saw the moon. What do? You accept his testimony, then what? You fast. Do you announce? Do you wait for another person? You waited and no one came. It is only this person. Do you fast or you don't fast? You don't fast. That's not what the Prophet ﷺ did. What did the Prophet ﷺ do? A man came to him and he said, I saw the moon. The Prophet ﷺ asked him, do you believe in Allah? He said, yes, I believe in Allah and you are the messenger of Allah. What did the Prophet ﷺ do? He announced to the people to fast. So, based on that, some scholars said it is sufficient to have the testimony of one person to start the fast, as long as he's what? Trustworthy. The Prophet ﷺ verified. He did not just let the people fast. He verified first. Do you believe in Allah? Who I am? And then he announced it that you fast. Everyone fast. What if someone came at the end of Ramadan? He's a trustworthy. And he said, I saw the moon. What do you do? The Prophet ﷺ did not do this at the end of the month. You stop the fast. Why?
Yes.
If it's sufficient to stop.
Well, the issue here, whether fasting, this report is like a testimony, so you have to have two witnesses, or it is like a report, just like the hadith. Now, if you have a hadith from the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, do you need another hadith? Singular narration is enough, sufficient.
Yes, it is.
It is. How the Prophet ﷺ sent companions, one individual only, to invite a nation to Islam with all pillars of Islam. How people changed the Qibla with only one. But is fasting based on this or that? And that's not the issue. Scholars said fasting is like testimony. You have to have two witnesses. Since the exception came from the Messenger ﷺ for the beginning of the fast, that's what we do. We allow it if only one person. But we don't allow it at the end of the month. We don't say it is the same. That's the opinion of the majority. So it is different. But read the issue from the book. This is an important issue, how you announce the beginning, because that's how it happens most of the time. Most of the time we don't see the moon individually. So we are waiting for report from others. What if you are in a position, you are the leader of the community, you are the leader of the Islamic center, and you have this situation to deal with? What do you do? Okay.
They disagreed regarding certain questions related to the report of moon sighting. First, over the number of reporters whose reports must be accepted, and then about their qualifications. Malik said that it is not permitted to commence fasting or to cease fasting on the testimony of less than two trustworthy men. Al-Shafi'i, in a narration by Al-Muzani, said that fasting is to commence on the testimony of one man about sighting, but fasting is not to be stopped at the testimony of less than 2 men. Abu Hanifa said that if the sky is overcast, the testimony of 1 person is accepted. But if it is clear in a large city, only the testimony of a large number of persons is acceptable.
See, this is beautiful details from Abu Hanifa rahimahullah. How you say you are the only one saw the moon, and the sky is clear, and the town is huge, and there is no one else saw it. Yes, if there is doubt, there are clouds, maybe you are the only one, or the village is small. It is possible.
It is also related from him that he would accept the testimony of 2 morally upright persons when the sky was clear. It is related from Malik that he would not accept the testimony of 2 witnesses when the sky was overcast.
Malik rahimahullah a little bit strict. Why? If it is cloudy, how then people were able to see it? Isn't that similar to our situation when we have people who are saying we saw the moon, and you look and you say it is impossible to see the moon? Again, this is the issue about calculation.
They agree that for breaking the fast, not less than 2 witnesses are acceptable, except for Abu.
See, so the opinion of the majority, on the other hand, when it is the end of the month of Ramadan, you need 2.
Except for Abu Thawr. Am I saying it right? Abu Thawr?
Yeah.
Okay. Who did not make a distinction between fasting and breaking the fast, unlike Al-Shafi'i.
So, is there distinction or there is no distinction? You say here the Prophet ﷺ accepted 1 man, so it should be the same. There is distinction. Good.
The reason for their disagreement stems from the conflict of traditions on the subject, and the vacillation of tradition between falling under the category of testimony and the category conveying no stipulated number for witnesses.
See, so do you consider it like hadith, where you don't need specific number of people, or it is testimony, so you need 2 people?
The traditions include what has been related from Abu Dawood, from Abdul Rahman ibn Zayd ibn al-Khattab, that he addressed the people on a day of doubt and said, I used to mix with the companions of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and asked them, and all of them related to me that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, commence fasting on sighting it and cease fasting on sighting it. If it is concealed from you, then complete a period of 30 days. If the 2 witnesses render testimony of sighting the moon, commence fasting or cease fasting. They also include the tradition of Ibn Abbas that he said, a Bedouin came up to the Prophet ﷺ and said, I sighted the moon tonight. He said, do you testify that there is no God but Allah, and that Muhammad ﷺ is his servant and messenger? He replied, yes. He, the Prophet ﷺ, said, Bilal announced to the people that they are to fast tomorrow. This is recorded by Al-Tirmidhi, who said that
this is authentic hadith.
Who say that there is a dispute over its isnad, as the group has reported it as mursal. There is also the tradition of Rabi' ibn Khirash,
Rabi' ibn Khirash radiyallahu anhu,
that is recorded by Abu Dawood from Rabi' ibn Khirash, from one of the companions of the Prophet ﷺ, who said the people were fasting on the last day of Ramadan, when 2 Bedouins stood up and testified to the Prophet ﷺ that they had sighted the moon the previous evening. The Messenger of Allah ﷺ ordered the people to break their fast and to go to the place of Eid prayer.
See, so now you have 3 traditions. How you reconcile between all of them? What do you do? That's all the explanation of Ibn Rushd from now till the end of the page is to show you how the scholars reconcile to reach the opinions that we just listed. According to Ash-Shafi'i rahimahullah, you accept the beginning of the month of Ramadan with the testimony of 1, but you need 2 at least at the end of the month. And that's the opinion of the majority, that you have 2 witnesses to the end of the month. But the beginning of the month, Malik rahimahullah said you have to have at least 2. Abu Hanifa rahimahullah make a distinction. He said if If it is clear, the sky is clear and the town is huge, one is not enough. Which means it indicates that he agrees with Imam Shafi'i rahimahullah if the situation was different. So these are the opinions. What's the reason for these different opinions? These are hadith. And the explanation is till the end of the page. And we'll stop here inshallah. هذا وصلى الله وسلم على محمد وعلى صحبه أجمعين.